Hi, I'm Dr. John Izzo, and welcome to Izzo on Purpose, a weekly series dedicated to helping you discover and implement purpose in your work and in your life. Now, today I'd like to talk about the important role of employees as purpose ambassadors for our brands and for our organizations. I'd like to help you see why it's so important that every employee in your organization is an unabashed, positive ambassador for your organization's commitment to the well-being of customers, clients, and society. So let's begin with a question. Would you say right now that the people who work for you are unconditional, positive ambassadors for how much your company cares about doing good for its customers and for the world? And if they're not, you might ask the question, what's the impact of our employees not doing that? Now let's begin with a very sobering fact. It turns out that customers only believe about 16% of what we as companies tell them about us. So all that money we spend on advertising, all those social media shares we spend all this energy to put out into the world to tell them how much we care about them, how much we care about their well-being, how much good we're doing in the world, only about 16% believability. So you might ask the question, well, who do they believe? Well, it turns out that about 63% of people say, I believe when an employee tells me something about a company or shares something with me about their company. So if you think about it for a minute, almost 4 times higher believability when an employee says positive things about your company's purpose than when you share it as the company. So the question then is, are your employees and team members positive purpose ambassadors? And if they're not, how can you unleash the power of their voice? Now, there's 3 things that I want to talk about that I think unleash the power of the employee voice as purpose ambassadors. The first thing is, can employees in your organization regularly challenge you around your purpose? I heard recently a story about a company that was talking to their employees and team members about how committed they were to quality that would really make a difference for their customers and clients. But after the meeting, all the employees were cynically joking about how quality was like job 15 in this company, and that cost cutting and the pressure to just produce whether the quality was there or not was a regular thing that was happening in their company. Well, I can tell you for sure, your employees will not be purpose ambassadors if they see a disconnect between your stated hope around purpose and reality. So the first thing is we've got to create a climate where people can challenge and speak up, where it's okay for people to say, hey, I'd like to be a big ambassador for our purpose, but let me tell you the disconnect for me and you got to help me with that. The second thing is, are we regularly communicating or giving ammunition to our employees about why they should feel good about working for us and promoting us to their friends and to potential customers? So what does that mean in real time? I think of a bank that we work with that regularly sends out tidbits, sound bites, critical messages for managers and leaders to share in meetings on a daily and regular basis about all the good the company is doing in the world, customers and clients that they've helped, things they've done recently that were in the best interest of the clients and customers, but not necessarily in the short-term interest of the bank. In other words, there's almost a constant bloodstream resupplying employees and team members with reasons why they ought to feel good about this organization. And of course, stories play a critical role in this. Stories of how we've really made a difference for clients or in society, on the environment, things like this. So the first question is, can people challenge in your organization when there's a disconnect? Second, are you constantly giving people ammunition, having that blood supply going out, stories, facts, figures, and real examples of how your company is doing good and why people ought to feel good about sharing that story? The third thing is, make sure you empower your employees to tell your story. As simple as it sounds, make sure you ask your people, please tell our story. Please tell your friends, neighbors, people you meet, how much you love working for this company and the real difference we are making. And don't try to monitor or get in the way of that sharing. I've seen so many companies who get so focused on the brand and what the brand is supposed to look like that they forget that an authentic employee just telling their story on a video or a social media share is even more powerful than all the branded expensive communication we do. I think of when Cisco a few years ago empowered their employees to tell the story of why they chose Cisco, why they love working there, and why they believe this is a great place to work, and literally gave a high-end video camera to any employee who would share their story on YouTube about why they chose Cisco. Not only did they get millions of YouTube hits, but the employees really felt empowered to tell their story. And when people tell your story, it can make a huge and powerful difference. Now, let me just remind you why it's so important to pay attention to this issue. All of us know what happens when our employees are negative ambassadors for our purpose and for our brand. Think of all the Uber drivers that you've heard diss and complain about Uber, which I've heard scores of times until I switched to Lyft and left Uber. Think about an experience I had on a major airline a number of years ago when the pilot literally came out on a delayed flight and complained about the company and how it really didn't care about customers and clients anymore, and that he wished us good luck on the next flight. I can tell you, not only did it have an impact on me, but I looked around me and the passengers were saying, I think I'll choose another airline next time, because they believed that captain a lot more than all the expensive advertising. And the opposite is also true. I think about Delta Airlines, that was recently ranked as one of the 10 most relevant companies in the world. In other words, companies that people are buzzing about on social media in a positive way. And almost all of it is because employees are telling the Delta story in a positive way. They literally have become one of the 10 most relevant companies in the world because their employees are regularly talking about how much they love Delta and how Delta is really there for their customers and for the greater society. And by the way, as leaders, we almost always get the ambassadorship we deserve. So if your employees are not positive ambassadors, ask, is there a disconnect between our purpose and reality, and can employees challenge that? Are we regularly telling stories and showing people how we're really making a difference and caring in a positive way, an authentic way that people can believe? And third, are we asking our employees to tell the story, and do they feel empowered to do it? Not worried about that we'll complain that it was off-brand or they didn't use the right colors. Just let them tell the story. One final statistic that underscores how important this is. It turns out that we are anywhere from 8 to 10 times more likely to share a social media post from an employee or team member about the company than we are to share one that the company shares about itself. So remember, 16% believability versus 63%. They believe our employees, so we better make sure that we've earned the right and empower them to be ambassadors for our purpose. So thank you for watching this video. I'd love to hear from you. What has your company done to help you be a positive purpose ambassador? Or what have they done that's gotten in the way of that companies need to be careful of? Write your comments right here on the place where you're watching this video. And please subscribe to this YouTube channel. We'd love to have you regularly know when we post a new video. And for more tips, go to my site, drjohnizzo.com. That's drjohnizzo.com, and sign up for regular tips. So meanwhile, thanks for listening, and remember, the purpose revolution is here. The only question is whether you and your company are ready for it. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you next time.